What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be my list of albums that I consider to be my favourite records of the year so far. I know it has been a bit of a long overdue to do this video, but hey, since I haven't got anything to do around this point, why not just share with you guys, as I've mentioned previously, which albums are my favourites of the year so far. This is going to be in no particular order, and without any further ado, let's dive into it. The first album into this list is one of my potential top 5 favourite records of the year so far, and that is Dog's Body by Model Actress. And yes, just like what I had to do with my album reaction to the review of this album, I had to cover the penis that is on the cover. But anyways, this is a really nauseous and heavily grim album when you think about it in the experimental side of music. The no-wave, dance punk, industrial experiments were just so intensifying. And it still amazes me that this album had been a huge gravitation. The performances to the stunning and yet frenetic production is still amazing to listen to, and it's not all for everybody. So be warned if you haven't listened to this album already, but for those who have, let's give Model Actress a lot of the appreciation for all of their hard work and effort. An amazing album for a debut record, 100%. The next album into the list is another one that is one of my most favourites of the year, Depeche Mode, Memento Mori. This is a very rhythmic, highly intriguing and personal record. Obviously, this was made to celebrate the life of Andy Fletcher, one of the band's members, and the more I think about this record, there's a lot of the stronger attachment and amazing connection with a lot more of the material that was surrounding the overall theme of this album. From the vocal lines to the imagery, the instrumentation does contain, in my opinion, some of the band's best works in a very long time. And it's just amazing that they can really pull this off to make a record like this after more than a couple of years from their previous record. A wonderful, mournful, but still fantastic record. Now, the next album in the list is probably going to be maybe a bit of a surprise, even though that the album still gets a bit of this dividing attention, but I don't care, it is my list. Metallica, 72 Seasons. I have done a long, in-depth review on what I personally think about this record, and the more I will be listening to this album, the tracks just get better and better. And I know that my ranking on the Metallica discography was pretty controversial, and I almost would put this close in my top 5, but it's placed around close to the middle for the personal and acceptable positions from the way I rank their discography. But anyways, this album is catchy, it's still fun, and just like with Memento Mori, does contain some honest and painfully emotional attachments of lyrics from the wizardry of Hetfield's mind. And yes, we know that a lot of Metallica's songs do get into that stage from the state of Hetfield as a person and as a musician throughout his experiences, but it's also just fantastic to hear some of my favourite new Metallica songs that are on this record. So yeah, 72 Seasons, I do defend this album very highly, and it had over time been a growing favourite, hence that's why this album is in the list. The next album onto this installation is one record that I did not talk about at all until this point in this video. Periphery, with Periphery 5, Gent is Not a Genre. One of the tracks that came out prior to this album's release blew me away. I have obviously heard of Periphery before through friends of mine or around my own time of hearing a track or two from earlier works, but when I hear stuff from this album, I was just blown away. This album has the biggest amount of variety, not only into a lot of their technicality and the metalcore djenty stuff, but it's full of this uncommon time signature insanity, the aggression, the mechanical sounds of the guitar playing to drumming, and this is just as a huge record into the variety that it does have. There are a lot of elements on this record which highly impressed me, but when I played this album a lot more, I was falling in love with this. So, Periphery has definitely made me a new fan. And I should have discovered this band, like really get into their music. I have respected them a lot, but this album was something to really make me feel something, which is to be admiring this band even more. The next record, Cattle Decapitation with Terrorsight. As much as that their discography has always been just this monstrous, political and insane ride, I think Terrorsight is like the combination into more of the grim and yet amazing tone through vocal melody, and the technicality from their last record just glued both of those things into one. Terrorsight still remains as a very powerful record from the band, and I was like so much in awe that they can explore and build a big progression. Stunning record from one of my favourite newer bands in the death metal genre. The next record, just like with Memento Mori, probably one of my top favourite records of the year so far, and that is Foo Fighters, But Here We Are. Obviously, a dedication to both Virginia Grohl and Taylor Hawkins. It could not have been just as beautiful and as, so detailed with emotional impact as anything else. This is the band's strongest album in a really long time to a certain degree, and through the vocals to the expressions, the lyrics, it's just the best of both worlds. It's one of my favourite things when it comes to the originality on some rock bands where they can share the vulnerability. And with that being said, But Here We Are is one really moving in places and stunning record. No wonder that this is one of my favourite releases from the band and of the year so far. And the next album is one that I have reviewed just recently, but I thought I would squeeze this one in because this is from one of my other favourite bands around this point when I discovered more of the experimentalism of rock music. Swans with The Beggar. I will say that this is not their strongest album. I don't highly select it as one of the top albums from their whole discography entirely. However, The Beggar, with its messages to what Michael Gira decided to cast out, making this a theatrical and still as inspiring, challenging, and a visceral piece of art, it's what made The Beggar as another really great record. Not as a near-perfect album, and not album of the year, as I said in my review, but I wanted to put this one in here because it's full of stunning musicianship and this pristine quality with not only Gira, but with the rest of the band themselves who have worked just as efficiently, and it's an outstanding achievement. So, The Beggar by Swans has to be in the list. Another album into this list is the new Starcoma record, Elemental. For those of you who are fans in the instrumentation side of music, and if you want to support a Twitch streamer like him, he has released all of his material to this point through his Bandcamp page, but I will say this, just because that Bandcamp releases are released does not mean that they are going to be missed out, because there are some awesome, amazing, and so inspired pieces of music, even with instrumental ones. Starcoma's 4-track album is punishing. It's just as full of diversity through different riffs, and the stunning material is always worth it of a replay value when I listen to his music. And Elemental is one record that you guys should give a lot of the love for. And I did review Elemental, and as well as the last record that he did called Elem on my channel. So show the love for musicians, especially ones who have made a self-made, self-released product. Starcoma's Elemental is definitely worth it of your time. And there you go, guys, that is my list. And I was scrolling through the selections of albums that I've been highly rating through my radiomusic.com account, but I'm very glad that these albums in the end did make the list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.